Today's episode is brought to you by Mascot Shards, the cereal made for mascots, by mascots, with mascots. Ever wondered how your favourite branded cereal avatars got their vim and vigour? Well, here's an exciting new cereal to set you up for your day. Introducing Mascot Shards, the protein cereal for kids, adults and mascots alike. Be strong like Tiger Bloke, wise like Loop Mage, wily like Choco Gibbon, crunched like the Captain. Spoon after spoon of these strangely inconsistent shapes that seem so familiar. And you'll be fighting fit! Just one bowl of Mascot Shards sets you up for your day, and it helps you entirely forget that why there seems to be so fewer mascots with every passing moment. Why not head down to your nearest Netto or Safeway and pick up a crate of delicious Mascot Shards now?
When eaten as part of a balanced and varied diet, mascot shards have not been proven in the court of law to increase your chance of exposure to unspeakable horrors. Paranoble Holdings reserves the right to detain any and all persons questioning the whereabouts of mascots.
Isn't it wonderful, Alex, that the weather is so clement outside for this Easter weekend? It's beautiful.
It's full of clemency and clementines and someone called Clement.
Jermaine Clement.
Is he in Eagle v Shark?
Yes, he is. He plays a very strange character in that. He challenges someone to a fight or something, even though he clearly would never win. You are not the right build to be a boxer. Anyway.
I was not designed to be a boxer.
I got something in the post just before we started recording. It is a t-shirt, and I could have worn it, but I'm not going to today. But Chameleon Arts Cafe is a place in Nottingham which does music and stuff, and it's above Card Factory, which is like a hilarious placement for it. And part of this, saving the bars and pubs because they can't fucking open is buying merch, which I'm very, very on board with.
Yeah.
As are you with the Black Heart hat last week. That's good.
Yeah. I'm hoping that your recording will actually show off the true quality of that merch, because over me it looks just like
it's potato.
It's just like YouTube artifacting.
So we are recording a little bit earlier today because the mentality was, it's going to be a nice hot weekend and we don't want to be sat in our respective rooms boiling to death. But luckily that's a non-issue because it's fucking average outside. So.
Yeah, I've got Monday is highs of 6, lows of -2.
It might snow. It may snow in England. Fucking ridiculous. That's when we were planning on having a barbecue as well.
Bring your winter clothing because it's going to be fucking bracing.
I cleaned all the barbecues out, which have been sitting outside for the best part of a year, though.
Disgusting.
A little bit of tetanus in my life. What else? What else has happened? Snyder Cut. Yes, I was going to talk about the fucking Snyder Cut as well, because Justice League, everyone knows, it's widely recognised as a bag of shit, basically, as a film. Despite the director's best efforts, it just turned out as an awkward mess, really. So I wasn't really that interested, even in the Snyder Cut, but for some reason I was like, for posterity, I'm going to watch the first cut and then the Snyder Cut just to see. And I actually really enjoyed the Snyder Cut. It's not perfect because it's a Zack Snyder film and there's a lot of gratuitous slow motion and weirdly tonally inconsistent bits in it. There's not a whole load of butt shots of women, but there's certain scenes that are framed where they're blatantly just going, look at Wonder Woman's ass, basically. But the story, it expands. It actually adds in all of Cyborg's backstory now, because he was basically a B character in the original.
It's like a slight upgrade over being the character from, I can't even remember his name because he clearly has no importance in the story, but the guy in Suicide Squad is like, I use ropes, and then he immediately dies.
His name is Slipknot. He's only there to die, basically, and prove a point about the collars, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's just
he has no backstory at all, nothing. He just turns up and who's this guy? And he's like, hi, bye. Done.
Yeah, because everyone else gets a flashy title card, and he's just like, I'm a dude. I am regular man.
Yeah.
He once got bitten by a regular man and has all the powers of a regular man. Oh, good.
He shovels real good.
He can stand in queues, buy groceries.
He gets frustrated at robocalling.
Even superheroes would get frustrated at robocalling. Everyone does. One of the most creepy ones I got was I answered it and it was silent for about 4 seconds and just went, goodbye, and then just hung up. It's just like, are the robots coming to kill me? What's happening? It was just goodbye.
It's like they're getting just a bit of paper in the, in the 17th century. It's just had a black dot on it.
Oh no, what's happened?
Who have I slighted?
I'm marked for death. It turns out it was just a printing error or something.
Also, we inexplicably posted that to someone.
Not everyone could read back then. Not everyone can read now. Not everyone can type now. Oh, yes, the Facebook Swipey McDoodads we did about the garage where someone put F. We were joking about it, but it turns out I got told that just stands for following because they don't know how to follow a post because they're stupid. They just type just a letter or something, and then when someone updates it, they get notifications. I was like, oh, that's kind of disappointing because that just highlights how stupid people are again, I suppose. You can actually click a button that says follow post. You don't need to type the word following, which then got abbreviated to F.
I guess I guess once upon a time that was necessary, and they've just gone, this is good enough, I guess.
Anything else before we actually start this?
I need to memorise my line before I fall over it 8,000 times.
Falling down MC Escher's stairs forever and ever.
Some sort of horrendous sample-based monstrosity with the generic beat under. Some sort of horrendous sample-based monstrosity with horrendous generic beat. Some sort of...
Kingfisher crab meat jumbo. Jumbo crab meat.
It's just one lump.
They basically just formed a giant crab into a disc shape and they didn't cut it up or anything. They just formed it.
Yeah, they just peeled it like an orange. It just reminds me of soft shell crabs. It just creeps me out a little bit.
Don't you just eat them as they are? You don't take the crab bit off of it.
You take the crab bit off and it becomes not a crab.
I mean, the thing that defines a crab, like the claws and the shell.
It just becomes an amorphous blob of food. As nature intended. So like a snake, as an invertebrate, it needs to shed its shell to be able to grow. They'll come out of their shell, and she's also a crab. So when they do that, a crab is sort of like this leathery, soft version of a crab, and so it can get bigger because then it can grow a harder shell that's bigger. While it's still in its sort of weird leathery, it's not leathery at all, it's still smushy because a crab on the inside is still smushy, but the outside isn't quite as smushy. But it's not hard like a shell, it's sort of soft. So they go, there's a crab out of its old shell, carapace, whatever you want to call it. Let's just pluck that out of the river and cook it whole.
The sea is a beautiful and terrifying place. Full of wonder and murder and weird stuff to eat.
So many blob monsters.
So many yet to be discovered as well because of the,
so many horrors.
The Marinara Trench.
The Chef Boiled Tea's Marinara Trench.
His body is preserved down there. Just like the pressure has somehow preserved him.
Just this giant sort of unknowable horror that's Jeff Boiled.
Jeff Boiled.
T-posing unspeakable horror that is Jeff Boiled Teeth.
He's got like barnacles on him and all sorts of sea life has just sort of synergized with his form. And it's just this, oh my god, some kind of eldritch horror.
He is sleeping.
Just this giant T-posing.
It just awkwardly just sort of just ascends.
We haven't actually started yet. This isn't the intro yet, by the way, everyone.
Finest quality content.
Anyway.
Sure, right. Welcome back to what will surely be another pun-drenched episode of Always an Adventure. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam, a man in his 30s, genuinely excited about eating chocolate eggs this weekend. That you don't really care about the egg aspect because it's just chocolate, which is true, but I am a child inside a man's body. I'm actually several children just sellotaped on top of each other.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am 4 eels.
Never meant to make your daughter cry. I am several fish and not a guy. Eels going everywhere.
Yeah. I was actually given some chocolate orange Terry's. It's not Terry's, it's mine. Chocolate orange mini eggs, which well, yeah.
It's chocolate. And it's an egg, so you are on brand for the death and resurrection of our Lord and Saviour egg. By eating smaller versions of the egg. Yes, the egg was nailed to the cross. It was hard-boiled, obviously, because you can't really nail a fresh egg to a cross because it would just, shatter.
Yes.
Right, anyway.
Anyway.
Shall I move on and ask the first question from our listeners this week?
Yeah.
Ace Abe asks, something your drunken body has autopiloted, as in you got home from a random location / taking you on a wild trip.
Normally, my autopilot's pretty reliable. So if I'm like, normally I'm pretty good with being able to find myself places and not find myself in a ditch afterwards. There are times where scene deleted after you get home. You're like, oh, clearly I got home fine, but there's probably 20, 30, 40 minutes of time. Like,
you wake up bottom half naked with your hand in a pizza box. Just like, what did I do last night? Well, yeah, but what about if you're not getting drunk in the place where your house is? So you're like abroad or like in another city or something.
I think one time I was in a part of my town. I was like, I don't really know this place too well, but a few ales later, I was like, I know how to get home, and I just walked around in the circle for an hour.
Autopilot fail.
I just sort of wandered around like, God, this is taking a long time, and eventually I just phoned a friend up. I was like, help, and they were like, go that way, not that way, and I'm like, oh, thanks. And then I got home fine.
GPS signal lost. Just walking around. Help! I don't know what I'm doing. There's potential mild peril. If you kept walking around in circles, someone might have come up to you. An NPC might have come up to you and did a random encounter, and you would have just been like, "Oh no, I cannot defend myself."
If only life had
got a debuff.
Yeah. If only life had little hints like, "Here's a big arrow pointing where you need to go."
I was playing a game a few weeks ago, and I liked exploring the area, but I was exploring the area and it was giving me hints. It's like, maybe you should try this. It's like, fuck off, don't condescend me, game. I'm playing at my own pace.
Yeah, have you noticed this thing you've just clicked on? Look at it again, because I said to look at it now.
But on the subject of autopiloting, I think at uni, I used to just get to a certain point and then just walk home without telling anyone. And I've done that to you as well.
Yes, you have.
I've just walked home, just like, my body's like, I need to go now. And then I end up in your doorway like Nosferatu or something.
You did that in Brighton as well, didn't you?
Brighton was even worse. We got halfway to McDonald's. I got distracted, went to a shop, bought an entire block of cheese, ate the block of cheese, threw it up, and then passed out in the front garden of the house that we were staying at.
Yeah, I phoned you up. I was like, "Where are you?" Like, blah, 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 got cheese.
I've been drinking rum all day. But that was not the one I was going to say, but that is probably a better one than I was going to say. I was making my way home once when I lived in Kent, and I just got bored of walking, and then I just detoured to this guy I knew's barn, and then just slept. It was like a converted barn, and then the toilet door was open, and I just slept on the floor of the toilet. And it was the middle of the summer, so it was, it wasn't terribly freezing, but I was only wearing a t-shirt, so I could have put my arms inside my t-shirt and like over my knees, and I was just like cocooned in this t-shirt. Woke up like, why was this a good idea?
Oh boy.
At least I didn't get in the news for doing anything bad. But then I would become local news, and I would be the local people in the local news, and then we would be reporting on this maybe one day, but sadly not. But instead, here's our local news segment.
Local news for local people.
You actually have a local news this time.
I have two, and neither of them are especially exciting. It's just I was drawn to them by the somewhat silly, what are they called? Titles? They're not titles. Headline, that's it. Headline. The blurb.
The trailer for the rest of the article.
This first one I'm going to talk about. It's got a very boring title. Headline, fuck's sake. Clearly I read the news. Boozer must go to ease congestion at busy junction. Boozer. Plan submitted to demolish Wheatsheaf pub in Maidstone. There's a pub on a corner of a road that sort of forks, and they're going to demolish it. That's all it is. That's all the article is. Just the fact they call it Boozer.
I think I've been to the Wheatsheaf, and it's not a good pub. So we've been out in Maidstone a few times. So we autopiloted to the next pub.
It's that one time that you almost lost your shit and went home because Maidstone is Maidstone.
Oh, fucking hell. I wasn't even drinking. I was driving, so definitely no drinking. I was just driving around in circles like, I don't like Maidstone. I don't know where I'm going. And I almost rage quit. And then I was like, oh, it's that way.
Yeah, it
was night time. I'd never driven in Maidstone before and was a relatively inexperienced driver. So it's just like, oh no.
Yeah, just standing around going, where is he? And then phone you up, he's like, ah!
Just screaming down the way. And then I got to where your place, or the place that you were at, and then just immediately drank loads of rum, like, absolutely tons of it, and then scene deleted, and then not safe for work, the rest of that story. So, oh wow, so yeah. Sorry.
A really uninteresting story, but it's not about rapists, so it's fine. It's content we want to maybe talk about.
Kent provides.
Yeah. The other one, warning from owners as puppy survives uncooked pizza dough.
Good. I mean, I didn't think uncooked pizza dough was really something that puppies would react badly to anyway. So that's like saying just survives eating hot dog. Dogs do not eat, they inhale. I remember my aunt's dog just ate loads of barbecue when nobody was looking. Loads of a barbecue, just an entire barbecue. No, a few sausages, and then she just walked into the caravan and then just vomited up entire sausages everywhere. Just like, dude, chew your food. Like, fuck. It's just like, whoop.
I think it's because they say unbaked dough can be lethal to dogs because it expands in their bellies, leading to potentially severe bloating.
Yeah, that would just result in a lot of farting, surely.
Or ruptured. Not a spleen, but a ruptured stomach. Whoopsie doodle, my innards have ruptured.
The headlines were definitely more interesting, the article that you say, but
yeah.
You know, I'm glad the puppy survived and the boozer isn't going to survive.
Yeah, one has to die so the other can live.
This bank holiday weekend got ruined, not just by the weather, but by students, mostly. This local news actually made it onto the BBC website, so it's actually become national local news. Right, the headline is, COVID madness as hundreds descend on Nottingham Park. Descend, like, basically what it is, it was a nice day, like I think on Wednesday, was it? Yeah, it was relatively nice on Tuesday/Wednesday in the week. And the students of Nottingham saw that as a great opportunity just to flood the Arboretum en masse, completely ignored almost every coronavirus safety protocol going. They all got kicked out after the police turned up, and then they just left a huge load of fucking rubbish everywhere, really. But what's quite funny is there's a video saying, like, fight breaks out in Arboretum. And I've watched the video. It's a mosh pit. It's not a fight at all. It's like, you'd see them smiling and shoving each other. I think they're just, like, human contact. And it's just have
people.
It wasn't like a fucking Cannibal Corpse wall of death mosh pit or anything like that. It was like some light jostling. I was like, this isn't a fight. What the fuck? I was more concerned about, there's a picture of a guy that's, like, climbed up a tree and just hanging out of the tree. It's just like, well, what's he doing? He's putting himself in more danger than the supposed fight.
And the caption there being, police believe the warm weather brought more people out.
It's just like, yes, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool story.
What do we put here? Look at this idiot.
Look at this fucknut. He's going to fall out the tree. As a result of, like, their behaviour, they have closed that park, and then there's another park, and to prevent it happening again. So this is why we can't have nice things, because students come in and ruin it.
Let's all go fucking hog wild.
It's just
Seize
so
your
much
hog wild.
And it's kind of disappointing that people just can't behave and stick to the rules, because there's a way they could have done that. You know, they could have all stayed in their separate groups. The littering aspect is what pisses me off the most, actually, because I know they got kicked out quite suddenly, but they could have sort of, you know, gathered their rubbish around the bin, so it was a bit easier for everyone, like, the people to come in and
also
they did just
they brought all that stuff with them, so why did they not take it away if they couldn't put it in the bins?
Because they're fucking idiots. But I was speaking to someone else about it yesterday, and they offered a more objective opinion on it, I suppose. It's like, he said, well, if I was younger, I would probably have done the same thing, because if they just, I can sort of see where they're coming from, because a lot of these students are probably first years. They didn't get to do their whole Freshers Week thing, which is basically, let's cover the high street in vomit and kebab, as far as I can tell. So they had all this pent-up energy, and, you know, they've just spent all this money to go to uni, and part of that is the experience of being at uni and doing all the social stuff. Yeah. And I think it all just came to a head just one sunny afternoon, and they just forgot themselves. I'm not excusing their behaviour, really, but I can understand why it happened. It wasn't just like, let's deliberately break the rules. It was like, oh, I'm excited, there are people, and it just got out of hand. It's like mob mentality, isn't it? So.
Yeah. It's a shame because
I wanted to go to the Arboretum this weekend. How dare you! I have to go to my back garden instead. Incidentally, my back garden is looking pretty good right now because I spent the past 2 weeks, I've built a patio. I laid some slabs down on the ground and sort of tried to make it even.
I drop things on the floor in a regular pattern.
Exactly. I did that. The shed is in the middle of the garden, but that's going to the back of the garden where the patio is. And I've knocked the greenhouse down because it was a wobbly, shonky pile of shit. And I mowed the lawn yesterday as well, in that 4 minutes of sunshine that we had, and revealed most of the lawn has been attacked by moss, which I believe was one of your preferred grass replacements. So your prophecy has come true.
It's so spongy.
I take that over ants.
Yeah.
But there are ants as well, but they're brown ants, not fire ants,
No.
so don't worry.
If we had fire ants, then something's gone horribly wrong.
Unless the moss is, like, incubating the fire ants or something like, no!
That's how you get fire ants, Lana.
That's how you get the best of both worlds. Ah! Just chucking fire ants at people. You get fire ants, you get fire ants. My favourite gif is still the Oprah Winfrey bees one. Bees! The crowd screaming and there are bees. So many bees. Well, there you go. That was our news.
Imagine yourself in the Arboretum as a 21-year-old or whatever they are. Imagine yourself 18 to 21 in the year 2021. It's a lot of 20s there. And you were in some sort of scuffle with far too many 18 to 21-year-olds in the Arboretum in the year 2021. Seems appropriate to ask Havoc's question here, which would be, if you were in said fight, which cereal mascot would you like to back you up?
Right. I would choose one of the off-brand ones from Lidl. Like Honey Bloke or something, because they have far less to lose, so they will be way more aggressive in a fight because they haven't got that star power. Like, imagine if Tony the Tiger came in, he would be like, yeah, a tiger would definitely be an asset, but he'd be worried about getting all messed up and, like, ruining his, his star-studded looks and all that sort of thing. Whereas you get sort of, like, Jeff the fucking stripy boy in, he will just maul the shit out of everyone and then still pose with someone's arm in his mouth on the front cover going, eat our fucking loops or something.
Yeah. Or you get fucking shanked.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter which one because I'm not familiar with all the off-brand mascots that Lidl used to have on their cereal boxes, for instance. Like, oh no, there's Little Man Choco Ball. I remember that quite funny. So get Little Man in there because he's going to be quite nimble and sort of he could just go up on someone's back and sort of start shanking him in the fucking jugular or something, like
stab you in the neck, Joe.
Little Man Joe, Cotton Eye Joe.
Where'd you come from? Where did you go? Where'd you come from? Why are you stabbing me in the neck?
Arterial spray.
Someone violently fiddling in the background.
As this horrible fight's going down.
Inexplicable line dancing occurs.
It just turns into just fever dream by the sounds of it, to be honest.
It's like, what's that from Equilibrium? Was it Gun Kana or whatever they call it?
Gun Carter, the sort of dancing gun foo or something.
This line dancing Carter or whatever in Carter 95 on CD-ROM now from the library.
Is it Laserdisc? The fucking huge ones like this big. Yay, I've got Terminator 2 on Laserdisc.
How many Laserdiscs? 7. Them spinning up, they sound kind of scary because they are beefy boys.
Oh good, the Doomsday Machine is spinning up. No, I'm just watching a film. If you got a mascot.
Well, I'd go for straight Tony the Tiger because he's a fucking tiger.
May I sort of defer back to the point that I was making about him being a bit of a diva?
Yeah. All right, some off-brand polar bear then because they're going to fuck you up.
The polar bear from Lost! Yeah, but Tony Tiger, to be fair, if you take that away, that is a good shout because he takes that kerchief off and then that's when he's going to throw down. He just like, the kerchief is coming off and then suddenly he's a fucking menacing big cat.
Yeah.
Big cat!
He's got claws the size of like your femur.
Tony the Tiger and Little Man teaming up as well, like...
You've got the tank and you've got like the rogue character here.
But I'm wondering if the opposition has also had the opportunity to have their own mascot to back them up. But we've already chosen the two best ones anyway, so...
It's
Like the honey monster, he's basically just a skinny dude with loads of fluff. You know?
Yeah, it's like an owl. Because no one's decided, let's min-max our mascots by having like a hydra or something.
Right, now, am I correct in thinking that you don't actually have a What's That Tune this week?
No.
That's absolutely fine. This is our Easter special, so the structure is going to be slightly different. I've just decided that right now.
Yes. The special thing is we're not going to do all the same things we do usually.
What we are going to do is listen to me drone on for a long time about something that happened in my past in this week's story time. Just doing a shit. Now, this is going way back to 2003. When I was 17 years old. And I was 17, I was a scrawny idiot, and I've actually got a photo, which I will show you in the chat, actually, what I looked like when I was 17, because you did not know me back then.
No.
Who are you? For some reason, I don't know why, I'm posing without my shirt on in a park with the stupidest looking fucking gorm on my face. Oops, I accidentally sent that to Vince.
Yes.
This was taken around the same time as the story that I'm about to tell. Look how skinny I am. Like, what the fuck is that? Like,
Who the fuck is that next to you?
that's Peanut.
Oh, wow. He looks about 12. What was this taken on?
A disposable camera.
Ah.
Yeah, I didn't have digital in 2003. Anyway, so now there you go. That's what I look like. That's going to be on the video as well for everyone to enjoy. Full screen. Oh, my God.
Oh, dear.
Right, so let's get into it. Easter holidays, 2003. What did young Sam get up to? So,
Oh, boy.
with a part-time supermarket job that didn't offer much incentive in the way of overtime, I found myself at a loose end quite often. Fair enough, my GCSE/GMVQ maths and IT resits soaked up a couple of weekday hours, which, by the way, I failed to get a college entry qualifying grade once again. Anyway, once the Easter break arrived, however, my academic, and by extension social, calendar all but dried up. I had learned to stave off spiralling into madness by occupying my mind with creative thoughts, which occasionally manifested into something tangible. Easter 2003 was no exception, choosing to make busy these idle hands and fill this social vacuum with the creation of a woodland camp. This project actually spawned from the roots of another endeavour. Basically, I'm going to have to produce some backstory on this little bit. My friends and I, we found these metal sheets and we bent them upwards at the front to create like sleds, and we used to fly down hills, muddy hills on it, and we called it sewer sliding because it was almost suicidal in nature to willingly throw yourself down a hill. So that when I say sewer slides, I'm not on about killing myself. Anyway, back to the story.
Yeah.
So while strolling around in searching for fresh sewer slide inclines, hoping to boost interest in its waning weeks, because it, you know, like all things when you're a teenager, we got bored of it quickly. So after almost an hour, I accepted defeat and headed back towards civilization, taking a somewhat scenic route for a change. Scaling mud mounds and traversing bogs eventually led me to a small level clearing surrounded by several robust trees. I paused as a vivid picture was painted in my mind's eye. This would be an amazing place to build something. Using the trees as corner posts, twigs could be horizontally interwoven between them with incremental support stakes for extra integrity. I'd seen this method utilised in some form or other before, albeit on a much smaller scale than I had planned. I began mapping out where the doorway would be, shoving vertical stakes to indicate as such, before inserting more waypoints for the other three walls. Once this was complete, I then undertook the lengthy task of weaving sticks horizontally between them, slowly giving it form. Opting to do this one wall at a time rather than in courses was perhaps unwise, realising all too late that I hadn't got enough good sticks to complete construction all the way round. The doorway sidewall was decidedly more rustic looking as a result, to put it generously. At one point during construction, I was taken by surprise by a fox hunting meet, or at least the dry run for the hounds. Now, my resolve was tested as dozens of canines strolled past, triggering a lingering phobia of dogs due to something that happened during my childhood involving a massive, senile, disgruntled Labrador. So I held my breath, crouching down to reduce visibility, as a few of them began sniffing around the camp, urinated on parts of it, and then promptly fucked off. Waiting until they disappeared through their trees, I finally exhaled, collected myself, and carried on building. And I completed a somewhat bare bones roof as well, using the similar method to the walls, but I had to hold it up in the middle with a stick. My friend finally came to assist, just adding finishing touches. He got a huge tarp that we put across the roof and on the front to actually plug the holes up and stuff like that. We stepped back to admire this project created literally on a whim. Pretty impressive considering the timescale, resources, and unskilled idiot at its helm. So my friend suggested we give it a trial run, opting to invite others down for a weekend-long camp out with snacks, drinks, and a roaring fire. I found an old wheel hub, and we used that as the fire pit. And incidentally, we used that for every single camp we made afterwards. It followed us around.
Nice.
It was the fire pit. So joining us on this operation was my brother and his friend, and my friend's younger brother, who was 12, I think. I think his parents were "Oh, go on, take him out on an adventure or something." Okay,
we're just going to do something perhaps ill-advised. Let's take this child with us.
It was ill-advised, as you'll find out in a bit. So a couple of my friends chickened out because they had in their mind that there were just bad men in the woods that were going to attack them. It's no, it's Wittersham, for fuck's sake. There are no bad men in the woods. There are probably a couple of wild boars, but...
If there's any weirdos, you'd have known them anyway, because they live in the village.
On the afternoon of our proposed adventure, it started pissing it down, of course, which presented a huge issue regarding both surface runoff and the woodland floor's water table. This basically meant that our original plan of sleeping bags on the ground would result in unpleasant sogginess all around. So the workaround that we had was we erected a tent inside of the camp, completely pointless.
Let's make this camp so we could put a tent inside of the building that we made.
It was weird. We only had one shop in the village. The only shop in the village. Local shop for local people, in fact.
I can't.
Instead of getting sensible rations, we got things like Doritos, Haribo sweets, and fig rolls. Staying in the tent for a whole weekend, you need some fibre.
Got to keep you regular when you're in the middle of nowhere.
Seeing as none of us brought any bog rolls, or only one roll of it, this was a really shit idea.
How long were you intending to stay out?
Friday to Monday.
So there's how many of you? 5 of you?
Yep, in a 2-person tent. We're going to get into that. So.
And 1 toilet roll.
With a rucksack full of crap provisions, we headed to the camp and set both tent and fire up alike. I sorted out the structure whilst my friend championed the fire construction because he's known for being good at it. In fact, he's got a catchphrase, which is, "It's all right, we still got embers." All that remained was to survive a long weekend away from civilization. Rather disappointingly, we only lasted 1 bloody night, and it was a complete fucking disaster, having scoffed all of our stacks in one go and burning through all the combustibles in record time. We also found out the hard way that 5 lads cannot comfortably fit in a 2-person tent, with elbows and knees becoming a massive issue early on. And to top it all off, my friend's younger brother was so high on sugar that he would not shut up, making our cramped sleeping conditions even less bearable as his constant stream of high-pitched babbling rang in everyone's ears. We all eventually lapsed into a broken slumber, emerging in the morning with aching joints and puffy, smoke-cured eyes.
Yum.
Hand-cooked chips.
Distended eyeballs.
Wait, there's more, but there's not a lot more, don't worry. We're most of the way through this very, very long story now.
That's right, diarrhea.
Not diarrhea, but there's an embarrassing Sam moment in this story, because of course there is. This would not be the end of my camp's reign. That came around 2 weeks later, thanks to our good old friend Frosty Jack Cider. So a few of us decided to get day drunk on this horrid cider, utilising the ever-faithful beer bong method, until we had drained all 3 litres into our bodies. This was, of course, an utterly terrible idea, coupled with our lack of prior hydration on a rather mild spring afternoon, saw us going from sage-like to stumbling in a few minutes. Paying the camp a visit yielded more calamity, as my brother decided to set it on fire shortly after our arrival, whilst his friend was inside it.
Safe.
Undertaking a rescue operation by mostly involving its destruction with sticks, we managed to free our drunken pal before he burned to death.
Was he inside of a tent?
No, he wasn't. The tent had gone by then. My friend had taken it home with him. But he was just inside the camp. In my drunken haste, I struck him on the head with a stick, much to his chagrin, though subconsciously this was probably not a complete accident. See, he was known to either be a cause or element in the destruction of things I had created in the past. So perhaps this was my drunken autopilot exacting revenge. That's a good drunken autopilot story right there. Boom, bash the man who destroyed your thing.
I smited thee.
In any case, after he moved out of the village, it was a lot safer to build things. The excitement of all this was clearly a bit much for me, causing a rather lengthy blackout once it had all died down. I awoke what must have been a good hour later, alone in the play park near the woodland, quickly discovering that I had vomited and passed out in the vomit. After emitting a groan of despair at this revelation, I passed back out into the sick again, awakening to the sound of small children shrilly asking, "Are you okay?"
Do I look okay?
Finding their voices not a little irritating, I promptly told her to fuck off. They did, allowing a third bout of peaceful unconsciousness. The kids hadn't really fucked off though, but rather they went to fetch their mum, who just so happened to be good friends with my mum. But seemingly genuinely concerned for this drunken idiot's well-being, she helped me not only to my feet but back home. She ensured I drank some water. I kept vomiting it back up whilst it was still cold. And then I tried to drink it again straight out of the glass. I was like, oh, well,
What?
ooh, piece of candy.
What?
Ooh, piece of candy.
What?
Ooh, piece of candy.
What?
Secondary to my concerns was my parents were going to turn up again because they'd been out all day. I thought that they were just going to have a massive go at me. But instead, they seemed highly amused to see me in such a state, which went to show just how lenient they had become since I'd turned 16. It's either that or my spectacle confirmed what they'd already suspected. This was not my first boozy rodeo. My true nature had been revealed in the ungraceful form of their staggering, vomiting mess of a son splayed out before them. Whoops. So, in summary, a few lessons were learned regarding camp construction and discreet drinking alike. Though I guess that illusion had been shattered in my parents' eyes now. Oh well, it just meant that I didn't have to pussyfoot around quite as much. I consider it a win. To spare further embarrassment, I elected to largely partake in the heavy drinking outside of my village, fearing not reprimand but mockery instead.
Yeah.
As for camp building, it was a while until I returned to such a pastime, but the wait would be worth it, because I made much better camps in the future. That was my very long story about Easter weekend. Thank you for staying awake.
Yes, well, quite a yarn.
That was an excerpt from my book that I'm still writing. Drunken memoirs. Oh, my knees! Oh, my knees! That's it, really.
It's pretty horrendous. I remember those ill-advised days of let's sit in a circle and drink cider, wicked strength cheap cider, until it's all gone.
Yeah, sitting in a circle, getting blotto on a summer day, that was apparently a good idea.
Yeah, well, as an adult, it's almost encouraged.
Yeah, but at a pub, not just in a park. In a park too close together, starting a mosh pit whilst climbing trees and leaving litter everywhere.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Look at this fucking idiot.
Why is it now cereal mascots getting involved? What was in those edibles?
Slam dancing cereal mascots. A fight broke out. No, they're just moshing. Don't bring Tony the Tiger to a mosh pit unless you want shit to get real.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Got crowd killed by a tiger. I almost died.
Whoopsie doodle.
Whoopsie doodle. All of my internal organs. I can see them.
They've become external organs.
I've been inverted.
Wear your insides on the outside. Don't take it literally.
What's that from?
Leathers by Deftones. It's off of Koya no Yokan.
Ah. I tend to not remember any of the vocals.
Because they're nonsense. Like she knows vocals. His voice is beautiful, but what he's singing about, he might as well just be singing about his gerbil. Doesn't matter, does it?
Might as well be a recipe for deviled eggs or something.
Kinda aya.
Yeah, quite.
That's a good song. It's not really a song. It's like slam poetry.
Yeah.
German slam poetry about how to make some hash cakes. It's the guy from Tool who makes wine and like a disappointing follow-up to a 2006 album.
It's Tool, but it took too long to come out for it to be what it is, and people like the hype train made it impossible to have a follow-up album that people are going to be like, this is exactly what my preconceived amount of hype requires it to be.
And, of course, there are more bands that sound like Tool out there that did Tool better, such as Wheel and so on. Do you have a knowledge thing?
No, I haven't really. I did buy something, what were they called? This vegetable thing that's somewhere between kale and sprouts. So
right.
It's sort of like a floppy version of a sprout.
Those delicious flop sprouts.
I haven't tried them yet, but I imagine a sprout and kale is just specializations of the same fucking vegetable.
Green leafy.
Yeah, like loads, like cauliflower, broccoli, sprouts, kale, this, that, and the other. They're all just You've been bred to emphasize certain features, like it's more leafy. It's got this thing in the middle. It's
a tree.
It grows a
Basically
stalk
tree.
with little things on it and stuff like that. It's just all the same bloody thing, though.
Well, that's very healthy. Most people will just be eating chocolate this weekend, or barbecuing in the snow.
Barbecuing chocolate and eating the Easter bunny.
Did you think it's a bit horrendous that there is a chocolate bunnies that you eat? Just like the bunny smiling as you put it into the void of your mouth.
The grin never leaving its face. Eat me.
Please eat me. I'm not going to eat you, muffin, but I want to die. Iced muffins, they are basically wasp crack. If you go outside with anything sugary, 10,000 wasps will descend upon you. Crack Elf asks, what's the point of wasps?
We always think wasps are just bastards, just bastard bees. They're not very nice. But they do serve a purpose in the world. They are pollinators. They sort of get rid of other parasitic insects. They do serve a purpose, but the ones we tend to be pissed off are the ones that are like, oh, you've got sugar. This is an aside on sugar. This is something that happened in school in food tech, as it was called. One of my classmates was making some sort of muffin or maybe a cupcake, and he had 2 bags of what looked like very similar things, flour and sugar. He decided to measure out the sugar carefully to the exact quantities required for flour.
Right.
Sometime later, he took these creations out of the oven, and they just turned into caramel.
Oh dear.
Not caramel, because there wasn't really any fat in it. It was more like just really fucking hot sugar.
Anyway, wasps.
Wasps.
I think, yes, they are pollinators and they have their use. But why do they have to be so fucking angry? I got told that statistically you get stung more by bees than wasps. That can't be true, because every time I've been stung by an insect that's got yellow and black stripes, it's been a wasp. 3 times, I think. The most recent time, I was eating an ice cream and the wasp had the audacity to land on my lip, and then I just felt like a tickle on it, and I went to brush it away, and I must have pressed it into my lip, and it just stung me. I was like, and I was just like, fuck, and then my lip swelled up, and the ice cream was ruined. Fuck you, wasps. Fuck you. You don't need to be like this. And the fact that they go, oh, look, apples. Oh, now I'm pissed. Now I'm angry. As well, I had an apple picking job when I was younger, and it just made me fucking very fearful of wasps. So sticking your arm into an apple tree to get the good apple, and there's about 6 rotten apples around it, all filled with wasps. And they're all drunk.
Like, time to get belligerent.
And they just get all up in your face. They're sort of like...
No understanding of personal space. Don't get up in that personal space.
Whereas bees, they're just kind of... I like bumblebees are great. They're just like, oh, hello, sorry, oops, I'm a bit, oh dear, like terribly sorry over here. But yeah, wasps don't necessarily need to get in the bin, but they just need to learn some fucking manners.
Yeah, life is not designed around our convenience and our comfort. Look at Australia; it's hard mode.
The middle of Australia is just like uninhabitable for humans because it's too hot and there are just too many dangerous things there as well. It's just arid and dangerous.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, look at this cute little lizard. Oh wait, it's poisonous. I've now died because I touched it with my little finger.
Yeah, it's both poisonous and venomous, and for some reason really, really angry.
Is it bendy though?
Does it have any bones?
It's just a series of fluid-filled sacs instead of bones.
A bit like a spider.
There are no bones in its legs. It's terrifying. Actually, spiders is another thing. I'm not scared of spiders. I know a lot of people are. I've never been bitten by a spider, or if I have, it's just kind of mildly irritating, if anything. I don't know why I looked at this arm. I was looking for spider bites.
Where you could have been bitten by a spider. I have had a ladybird land on my arm and start immediately biting me. It's like, you little bastard.
They are bastards, and then they do a shit on you or a piss on you, leave a little fucking stain. You're like, oh, so you bit me, and then you did the toilet on me, and then you flew away. What is wrong with you?
Thanks.
You know, like in A Bug's Life, the ladybird in that, or ladybug, if you want to get American about it, it's just really surly. Like, it's like, yeah, that's what they're like.
It just turns up, headbutts everyone, and then walks off like it owns the place. Normally I have plenty of time for beetles because they have got that kind of I own the place kind of attitude of like, I'm just going to get on with whatever because I'm a beetle. I'm pretty well armoured.
I ain't got time for your bullshit. I've got to roll this bit of shit up this hill.
Yeah. I've got to scare a mummy.
the scarabs.
We pick their bones clean of flesh.
Just leaving a gnarled skeleton in its wake.
Who does not want a gnarled skeleton in their wake?
I will be the gnarled skeleton at my wake, I think so. Bury me like near an active bog, so I just kind of emerge from the ground.
This is my will and testament made with a sound mind or whatever the phrasing is, and say, I would like my body flensed. Put me through a threshing machine until all my bones are clean. Those industrial, like, crushing things they use for rocks and metal and stuff, which are just these sort of rotating teeth.
I watched like a few YouTube videos of just like, here's an entire refrigerator, and now it's dust.
It's, it's a pile of rubble, small pieces.
It's just the way it's sort of like, it doesn't catch at first, but then one of the teeth come around you, like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to, oh no, it's not fine. It's very not fine. And I just imagine myself getting chucked into one. It's like, oh no, this is horrible.
Yeah, you'd just be a pile of broken bones and gooey meat bits.
You'd just be chum, and then they'll just chuck it to the sharks. So yeah, wasps. Yeah,
wasps. They need to. Perhaps some of them, maybe 65% of them, need to go into a macerator. The rest can stay.
I believe, unlike bees, if you attack a bee's nest, obviously they're going to retaliate. But if you hide under a body of water, because they cannot get to you, they just go, fuck it, it's fine. But wasps will hang around for quite a while because they know that mammals need to breathe.
They can smell your fear.
They'll come up for air eventually, unless you get like a straw and just hide under the water.
Yeah, if Tom and Jerry has taught us anything, it's to hide under bodies of water using some sort of reed or drinking straw as a way of breathing.
Also, don't fuck with mice. They are very well equipped to defend themselves, apparently. Speaking of well equipped, I actually missed out a question. So we're going to have to go back and ask that question now. So enjoy this structure. I'm going to leave it in the running order like this because I think messing up, it humanizes and it's less editing work for me.
So we need to go back to the future.
We need to go back to the future, back to not high school but college, because Vince asks, what's your fondest memory from college?
Standard buns always comes to mind.
Could you explain to the class what standard buns is?
So we had a programming exercise to do in one of the lessons. We're making some sort of shop database app or something like a till or something like that.
Visual Basic.
Yeah, in VB6. We just had to make up some stock items that you could put on there and then some prices for them. And one of the items was standard buns, because there are different grades of buns, clearly. And it's so long ago I can't remember who started the standard buns. Screech was, but that's...
I think it was Vince. And then it just kind of, it's like one of those compound in jokes that turned into one thing eventually. Like there's an intro to, I think it's a Fin Troll song that goes, and then we did start doing a stupid dance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it. Vince called his one the Simple Mathematical Calculation Interface, or SIMKey for short. And then that had its little dance. It's like standard buns, ah! And even our channel trailer with the horse con. The reason why it's doing its arms thing was because it's doing the SIMKey dance.
Yeah.
So. One of my fondest memories is actually quite a sad memory at the same time. But it was when we skived off because my guitar had arrived at your house. But it was shortly after I found out that my cousin had passed away, and I wasn't really that happy, and I wasn't focusing on work. And I think you saw that. It was like, hey, should we just duck out and just fuck off to mine? And we just chilled out for about an hour, and then it kind of took my mind off it. But when we came back, we got reprimanded by Big Steve, the lecturer. And he was like, why did you disappear for an hour? And I was just like, oh, sorry. And I remember you got very sort of like, oh dear. It's like, I'm sorry, sir. We won't do it again. So you called him sir?
Yeah, it's hanging on from being at school, I think.
Yeah, it's like, sorry. Like, we're being told off by an old man. Sorry. That was quite rewarding, I suppose, that memory. It's like, hang on to these things because I'm a sentimental git. Or the other one was when I first started there at college. Actually, going back to my story about failing to get enough GCSEs to get into college, I did a BTEC. You don't need good grades for that. It applied relatively late. It was like July/August or something. You're like, right, there's only one place left and there's two of you are gunning for it. And I was like, okay, I don't know how this relates to software development at all, but they made us write a letter on Microsoft Word about why we want to join the course and include a picture in it somewhere. So I wrote, a short paragraph about, I don't want to work at Tesco forever. I don't want a
Yeah.
career, etc.
Yeah.
And then I put the picture as a watermark in the background. I think that's what sold it, is that because the other guy just dragged something off Google and just lumped it in the top left corner. I was like, mate, I've got skills and you can tell. Like, that was my road to SimKey.
Nice.
The first week I was there, didn't know anyone, and they already knew each other from school, I think, and I was like the outsider. And then there was this hairy bloke just sitting in the cafeteria with his arms crossed, looking a bit just like similarly lost. I was like, oh, another lost soul. So I went over to him and was like, excuse me, mate, have you got 20p so I could buy a chopper chop? Because they had a chopper chop machine. It's like, yeah, okay. And then that person was Vince, and he's one of my closest friends now. So it all began. It started with a chopper chop.
It began with lollipops.
Those two, I reckon, I cheated. 2 fond memories from college. And
Not allowed.
all the other memories I have are just extracurricular. Getting crunk or crunch, getting that crunch on.
Getting the crunch on, yeah.
I hope we've made a lot of fond memories with this episode as well, because that is it for this week. This is quite a short one, really, but that's not a bad thing.
Make some fondant memories. Form them with your hands and put them on a cake of dreams.
Exactly. I feel that where was I going with this? Please help. all I'm thinking about now is just, how has this egg not fallen down yet?
The power of Christ, it doesn't compel it.
Some rosary beads.
Inexplicably, the director fires up a real gun in the background. Shit!
I need to watch that again. I've got like the 2001 DVD, like when DVDs were in those cardboard sort of cases with the clip over plastic bits. It's the director's cut as well, so it's got all the horrifying spider walking in it and pea soup vomit falling down the stairs, etc. Falling up the stairs and falling down the stairs. Watch The Exorcist if you haven't, people. Like, it's been out for like 50 odd years, so what are you doing? Like, come on, Jesus.
A surprisingly violent film.
It's good horror. Anyway, speaking of horror, we're going to put an end to your horror of having to listen to us by saying that is it for this week. So you can find us, Always Adventure, on YouTube and Spotify for horrifying faces or horrifying voices, respectively. And if you head over to Twitter at AAA_AlexSam, you can be horrified by all the sort of shit that we post, which is usually about our shit. So, I wrote about how, I think I might have wrote about how we had a shit again. Yeah, I always do. Like, it's now become recent tradition, but a tradition nonetheless. Even if we don't have a shit, I'll include the word poo or shit in the thing. So why not tell us to shut up with it already? Or maybe just ask a question to feature on our next episode while you're at it. We've both decided that our daily lives aren't interesting enough. So no personal plugs. We're just getting rid of that because what's the point? You know, like just plugging yourself into a fucking socket and hoping the resulting electrocution will invigorate rather than hospitalize.
Yeah, the sweet release of a shock from the mains.
Just don't need that DC. Hook it straight to my veins. That's not how electricity works. Well, what the hell's in energy drinks then? Why is it called energy?
Right, made with lightning, real lightning.
Speaking of Twitter, we've now sort of become part of a community, it seems. There's this one called Florida Men on Florida Man, which I hope you get that reference. But they actually DM'd us and just said, wanted to check in and say thank you for the follow. We love meeting you shows. How long's you been around, etc. Just having a bit of a chat, and they said, oh, you do a video element, we're thinking about doing that. But they confused me because they said they just wrapped up 2, so I thought they've only done 2 shows, but I've gone onto their website and they've done like 128 shows. I was like, maybe they did 2 in a row, maybe that's what they meant. I haven't actually listened to them yet, but I thought I'd give them a plug just because they're, you know, I've followed a lot of people on Twitter on our account. They're the only people that actually directly messaged us and said thank you and had a bit of a discussion about podcasting, which is always refreshing. And just, you know, getting tips from other people. Like, I think that they do it professionally, though, because they've got a proper website and they've been going for a while. They've got a few thousand people following him and listening and stuff. So, you know, maybe we'll just ride on their coattails. Just like, we want your audience. The thing is, like, people say, oh, what podcast do you listen to? But mostly this one when I'm editing it, and then that takes up all my time. And then, like, in my free time, I listen to like Podiots, which is once every 2 weeks, a Triple Jumps podcast, which is a weekly sort of gaming related one, and that's it really. The Devin Townsend podcast.
Yeah, when he puts something out,
each episode is supposed to be about an album that he's released. He just talks about Puzzle.
Yeah, he can't stop talking about Puzzle.
which makes me excited for it. But at the same time, it's like, just rename it like the Puzzle Podcast, if that's what you're going to do. Because you go in like, oh, I want to know more trivia about deconstruction. It's like, I'm going to talk about puzzle for 30 minutes. It's like, okay.
It's like, wait, this episode's like an hour long and most of it is not about the album you're meant to be talking about.
So those really are the only 3 podcasts, 4 if you include our own, that I listen to. And it's not because I think other people's podcasts are boring or anything like that. It's just, you just don't have time. If I spent all of my time just listening to podcasts and editing podcasts, if we did that, then we wouldn't do anything else. We would have no hobbies, and eventually we'd run out of things to talk about apart from podcasts. It would just be like a weird meta loop.
This is a podcast about podcast, meta podcast echo chamber.
Maybe we'll get an audience, maybe we won't. Honestly, I don't care. I like doing this. That is really it for now. That outro was very protracted, wasn't it?
Extended.
Redacted.
We done did.
Shearing it off like a little man when he comes in and shears off someone's big toe or something. That's the end. That's the end. Take it away.
This is the end. Mushroomhead bullshit is bullshit. But most of all, take care. Take care. Take care.
The generic beat under.